This video will have spoilers, so if you haven't played this part of Persona Q2, then I would recommend not watching this until you have finished the first boss fight of the first Labyrinth and a little bit after that. Okay. Hey everyone, it's me, the Otaku Fango, here to talk about the first part of Persona Q2, New Cinema Labyrinth, so let's jump into this. So, okay, this game. I've been waiting for this game for a very long time, ever since they announced it, and of course, you know, we had to wait for it to be over here, over in America. Now it's finally here, and I've had 10 hours to sit through the first story part of this game, so I'd like to sit and talk about it and how I feel. First of all, let's start with its story. So, our Persona 5 characters basically go to Mementos, like, hey, we're gonna have a normal time Mementos, but that is not what happens, as something goes awry, and they end up in a movie theater, and they meet these two characters named Nagi and Hikari, who seem to be the inhabitants of this strange place, this movie theater place. And another thing called Do. I don't call it a person because it's a blob thing that Joker was like, I'm gonna poke it. And I thought that was pretty funny. But that is basically the story here, and they have to go through this movie, which features something that I never wanted to see in my life, Kamoshida trying to be a superhero. Now, granted, he wasn't the best superhero ever. He was kind of twisted and everything. It was kind of like, oh, okay, so that's not quite what's going on, is that he's a great superhero. It's just that he's a forceful, very annoying superhero and forcing everyone to believe that he is justice and everything. And I'm like, well, that makes a lot of sense now, because when I first saw this back in trailers when they were revealing this game, I'm like, Kamoshida is a superhero? How about no, though? So there's that. But here's the most interesting thing about this story, is that as you go along in this labyrinth, you come across the Persona 3 female protagonist. Now I'm gonna get into this, is that the naming with this game is that you cannot name them their canon names, which really is annoying. Which, it happens to be last names, which is very interesting. For instance, Ren Amamiya does not fit. Ren fits, but Amamiya does not. So I did go with Akira Kurisu, because Ren Kurisu just didn't sound right. I'm just like, I can't do that, so I went with Akira. But for the Persona 5 protagonist, and for our Persona 3 protagonist, her canon name to me is Minako Arisato, as was with the male protagonist for P3 is Minato Arisato, but Arisato does not fit for her. Now, Minako does, so I just kind of erased the A, and just kind of, it's Aristo. It's weird, but whatever, that's what I did. I don't know what other people did, and I don't know what footage I'm going to be using over this voiceover, but you know what? It's fine, because I couldn't record the game myself because I don't have things for that, but you know what? I can use someone else's, I'll credit them and everything. But anyway, so that's what I named her, and she is such a wonderful, wonderful addition to this story. It's like she becomes a part of the Phantom Thieves, and that's actually really entertaining. Someone draw her in her own, like, Phantom Thief outfit. I don't know what it would look like, but I feel like that should exist now, because I think that would be great. But I do want to go back to Do for a second. So, this was very interesting, I thought, speaking of characters, is that new characters, and I use new loosely because Minako is technically not a new character, but whatever. So, Do. This blob-looking thing seems to be running the movies, right, through the projector. She's the projectionist, and I'm like, okay, that's weird, and this thing doesn't talk, by the way, so far. It just kind of makes noises, and I'm like, okay, we'll get into the noises part later. But with him, Nagi mentions that, well, basically she's the one that came up with the name for him, right? And she got it from calling a unidentified body, usually a dead body, a John Doe. Now that's very interesting for later when you finish this chapter, and I say finish is right before you go to the next theater. I'm gonna say that's where it ends. So, that was very interesting to me. I sat there like, wait, John Doe, like an unidentified dead body? And then Akechi was like, oh yeah, and I'm like, okay. So that was very interesting, but I just, something about that kind of put up warning flags, or, you know, put up flags for something in my mind. I was like, that That's gonna be important later, isn't it? I can feel it. Something about that just goes, what? So yeah, that was interesting. And Hikari, we don't know much about her. We don't know much about Nagi besides she's the one who, like, is the creator of the movie theater. I thought she was gonna be like an actress in a movie. She could still be, and maybe they have their memories wiped. Who the heck knows? But Hikari's really interesting because she's very silent, very quiet, and she's kind of like how Futaba was. They mentioned that several times. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. But that's as far as we know about those characters. We don't know much more. And I'm like, well, alright then. And I really like the inclusion of Theo. Now, Theo was in Persona Q1, of course, but he's back again, and this time he has his attendant along, Minako. And I was like, yay! That makes me happy. But I just am happy that Minako's in this game at all, so. But there's not really any interactions I could think between them, which kind of sucks. I was like kind of hoping they'd like interact more and talk, I don't know. But it's fine, maybe they will later. Because right now he is in a popcorn suit, and I'm like, boy, that Elizabeth, why would you hurt him this way? Oh man. But gameplay-wise, this game has far exceeded my expectations compared to Persona Q1. First of all, there's not that stupid healing mechanic that Elizabeth did, and I'm like, thank you for getting rid of that, I hated it. And also, when you come back from every labyrinth, instant HP and SP all the way back healed. I'm like, thank you, that's so amazing. Oh man, they definitely did, change a lot for this. They didn't change too much, but they did change some of the more annoying aspects from PQ1, and I thank them for that. But I will say that it's very, I don't know how to explain it. It's that it feels more polished. I believe this gameplay feels a lot more polished, and they add, with Persona 5 existing, they add sort of like elements from that, but not really, like style-wise, it's definitely taking a lot from Persona 5 and everything, so I'm like, that's very interesting, and I like how they did it as well. But as with the Labyrinth, it is a giant city that's probably based off, an American city, considering how the cops look. Oh boy, I'm surprised people haven't, like, gotten angry over that over the internet yet. Maybe they have. I'm just surprised nobody mentioned, that one cop, and I'm not gonna bring it up, but, that one, you know what I'm talking about. You know if you've played it. But I was just like, wow, they really went there, didn't they? But anyway, the Labyrinth itself was fine. It was very easy to traverse, and it didn't have many, like, annoying FOEs. FOEs were something that I really disliked in PQ1 because they're just annoying. Now, they're not as annoying here, they're still kind of annoying, but you could figure out how the puzzle works, and bang, bada, boom, you're done. So I got through it pretty easily. It took me 10 hours or so, close to 11, to finish the whole thing. And let's just talk about the music, okay? Pull the Trigger is the best dang song. It's so good. Like, when I heard it, I was just like, yes, this is good, and I love it. Now, the P5 battle theme is not bad either, but just Pull the Trigger is so good. P3 female protagonist song. That's so good. Thank you, Atlas. And I can't get over, like, how they write Joker or Ren, Akira, whatever you want to call him. Like, his answers to everyone, some of them are really, really entertaining and just really funny. And I'm like, yes, this is my boy. And that's another thing. Characters and their writing. It is way better than PQ1. Because that one was a dumpster fire when it comes to writing characters, but they so far seem to be keeping intact with the characters and how their personalities and everything. Especially Minako. The way they write her is exactly how I expected her to be. Cute, deadly, precious, adorable, must protect, cinnamon roll, but also a cinnamon roll, and I'm just like, thank you, Atlas, you know what you're doing. And so when it came to the final boss time, well, it was pretty easy actually. I looked at the recommended level and I got everyone around that level, maybe a little bit over, just a bit, just to be safe about it, and that first boss. So if we go off PQ1, the bosses are symbolic. So, Kamoshida turning into a rabbit. How the actual heck is that symbolic? I have no diggly dang idea. I have actually no idea, because I feel like the bosses somehow relate I feel like this whole thing relates to Hikari and whatever she is, maybe, I don't know how she got here, why she's here, and maybe Nagi as well, but Hikari seems to be the most focus here. Nagi just seems to be kind of tagging along because maybe she was involved in whatever happened to Hikari. So why a rabbit? I don't know. I'm like, I have no idea. I'm sure that, because I have no theory on that. I was like, okay, he's gonna transform. What's he gonna be? Oh, a rabbit? I have, maybe it has to do with Hikari and wanting to be a kid and rabbits. I have no idea. I have no clue. Can't theorize that, man. I tried thinking about it, but I just couldn't. So I'm like, well, alright then. So after that, they unlock the chains on the door, and it's like, well, we're done here. So, but it's very interesting, Hikari's reaction. You know, speaking of reactions, let's talk about Do throwing up the key. So that's the only time we have Do actually like talk, and I use that in air quotes, you know, talk. He just kind of goes, rah, and I'm like, well, this thing obviously can't speak yet. It may later, who knows. Whatever this thing is, it looks so much like a shadow that it bothers me, you know? Like, the face is very shadow-like, and the body is clearly, because it's, you know, gray and blackish. So I'm like, well, are you a shadow? Are you a dead person? Like, what are you? You know, I think he may be a dead person whose soul is inhabiting this weird thing. Maybe, I don't really know. But that's kind of a loose theory for me on whatever the heck Do is. So yeah, Hikari's reaction to everything is very interesting. If you watch her closely, you know, she has a moment where she kind of, I wouldn't say breaks down, but she kind of holds her head and she's like, there's a movie I have to see here and something. I'm like, okay, there's a movie. And then she got like a letter that invited her to it. I'm like, what's that about? Who invited her? Did someone invite her to murder her? I don't know. I always like to go back to PQ1 and be like, man, maybe these characters are dead, because that's how PQ1 was, but I have no idea what they plan to do here, so, you know, and nobody, absolutely nobody spoil me for this game. I have gone spoiler-free this long, and I'm not against, not even vague, like, hinting at things. I don't want any of that shit, alright? I don't want any of that, because if you do, I will be the angriest person on this planet. But maybe I'll even get some moderators to, you know, go through these comments to make sure that doesn't happen. But even so, don't do it, okay? Just keep your mouth shut. Thank you. So that's basically all my thoughts on this first part of Persona Q2. Now, I don't know when I'll do another one of these, as I have, you know, a job and life to do. I can't play this game for like several hours on end as I did these past 2 days because I secretly asked off work just to do this. But that's fine because I wanted to play it, so it's fine. But anyway, overall, I'm very impressed with Persona Q2 in this beginning stages. These first 10 hours have been amazing. I have not regretted buying the special edition whatsoever because it is a great game so far. It has far exceeded Persona Q1 already, and it's only been 10 hours in the first dungeon or Labyrinth. So there's that. So I think that's all my thoughts I've got here. There's not much else I want to talk about, but it is a very interesting game so far, and I'm very curious to see how it's gonna go. And it's really funny. It's got its serious moments. It's really a great game, and I can't believe how great it is after only 10 hours, and I'm just like, wow. Also, I gotta say, the stealing of the statue scene was just like, that was hilarious. Like, first of all, Joker, like, getting the spotlight on him and then doing the smirk thing, like, ah, I love you. And then also, Minako coming down and that was hilarious. I laughed so hard. Oh my gosh, this game's great, and I love it. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in our video, whatever Let's Play, whatever I may do next is, okay? Bye!
Every path you go is a prototype, more room for growth at the same time. It's real life on the verge of deciding the color of the rest of your life. Bit too heavy to think like that, but on both sides leave big impact. Get wise and rise.